Hi there, friends. It's Cassie, and welcome back for another Fun Fold Friday. Today is going to be a fun one for sure. It is one that can stand up on its own, and it's going to have lots of panels that you can decorate. This might be a video that you'll need to stop and start a few times, so that's okay. Save it for reference, but these are fun. We're going to make an A2 and an A7. So let's talk about what we're using. We have our really high 5 stamp set from Fawn, oldie but a goodie. Not that old, and then we also have the matching dies to go along with it. I wanted to make a couple of birthday cards, always needing the birthday cards. And then I did decide to bring in this Hello Sunshine Remix 6x6 paper pad. I don't know if that's still available. Use what you have, folks, and have fun with it. I did go ahead and stamp out all of the images a few times, each of the little characters twice, because we're making 2 cards, and I stamped out lots of the little trampolines. We stamped out some balloons. That's all on Express It cardstock, and I did stamp it with some jet black ink by Ink on 3. We're going to start out going double time here, but then we will increase it to about 8 times. See, we're going to go 8 times because there's a lot to color here. And I'll put the colors up on the screen. We're using some Olo markers. Those are alcohol markers. And I'm just using a couple colors for each one. Didn't go too crazy with that. But these little images are so darn cute, and I had the best time coloring them. And so we're moving on to our bunny. I think I'm definitely going to have to do my next project with some bunnies on it for sure, because these little bunnies are so cute. And then we've got our little bears. I do tend to go lightest to darkest when I'm coloring, except for if I want something to be mostly white, then I will do dark to light. That just seems to be easier for me. But in these cases with the bear and the fox, we did do light to dark. I'm sure you noticed with the rabbit, we did it the opposite way. And so I just, like I said, had a great time coloring all these. The little hats were very simple, so I'm not going to show you those. Our little mouse is just absolutely darling. I don't know what it is about these little Fawn characters, but I just want them all, and I want to color them all too. So it took me a little bit of time to color everything that you see here. That's why I sped it up about 8 times. Otherwise, this video would be crazy long. And I really want to focus on all the scoring and cutting that we need for our actual cards, because it's a little bit. I started out with some easy ones. We're definitely going to go back to some easy fun folds for sure in the future. I have lots planned. But this one, I thought, let's try something a little different. If you've never tried one of these before, you need to. They're just a lot of fun. And I don't know that there's a name for this one in particular, but like I said, it does stand up. It's one of those you could probably put on a mantle very easily, or a bookshelf or whatnot. Good for display for sure. All right, so once we get done with all of our coloring, we're going to bring in those matching dies, and we'll go back down to just double the speed here. And then when we start talking about our folds and our cuts, we'll just go down to real time so that you can pay attention to that and pause and stuff where you need to, write things down where you need to. So let's go ahead and get started. This is our A2 sized card. And this is the base that we're going to be starting with. So this is going to measure 5.5 inches by 4 7/8, and you want that 4 7/8 to stay at the very top for all of our scoring. So 4 7/8 goes to the top in your Scor-Buddy. We are going to score this 4 times. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch. That's our first score. And I'm using a Teflon folder here, and I'll have that linked down below. We're also going to be scoring at 1 1/4 inches. Okay. Then we're scoring at 2 inches. So you'll notice it's about 3/4 inches between that first and second, second and third. And then we are going to be scoring at 2 3/4. So those are it for the folds the scores you'll need. So I'm going to go ahead and fold those up, get those nice and ready. And then we need to do our first gluing. What we want is for this to have a square to it. So you don't want to just push that all the way into the edge. Let me show you an easy way to glue this down. Now I'm going to use liquid glue. So what you want to do is basically fold that in half. You're going to want one score line in the center. And I'm just going to put this glue on this little flap. That's our shortest flap. We're going to put a little glue on that, and then we're just going to fold that in half so that there is a score line that you can still see. Okay, so you'll see there's that score line right there, and that flap is folded over, and this is going to give us a square. All right, just making sure that that glue holds. This is why I choose liquid glue. I'd love liquid gold. Liquid glue over just using like some score tape, because that's not quite as strong. But there, you'll see it's a perfect square. And that's where we're going to attach these next pieces. You're going to need 3 pieces of cardstock. They're each going to measure 2 1/8 by 5 1/2 inches. So that's 5 1/2, and our top is 2 1/8. All right, these are going to be our sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue those to each of the sides of that square. So we'll start with this first one. I'll just put some glue on there. And then I'm going to tuck my piece of cardstock right in there. Don't go too far in. You just want to make sure that it is still going to lay flat. You want this to be able to fit into a envelope just fine, and you need it to stay flat. So there's our first one that we've attached. All right, then you open that up, and you can see exactly where you're going to need to glue the next one. So we'll add our glue, and we'll attach this one down to that like that. Don't go too crazy much with the glue. This is a very thin line of glue. I know it might look like I'm doing a lot, but it's a very thin and just not real thick. Well, I guess that's the same as thin. A very thin line of glue, because you don't want that glue seeping out and closing it up in areas. You know, you need this to be free flowing after you open it up. Okay, so, and I'm just measuring there because there are certain ways when it's closed, it'll be 4 1/4 inches. Certain ways when you close, it'll be a little bit bigger than that. So you just making sure that everything's going to be the way that it's supposed to be. And then our last panel will go right here on that last part of the square. So once again, put your glue there, tuck your piece inside, making sure everything lines up on top and bottom, and that it'll still stay closed, or still be able to lay flat when you've got everything down. And I'm just reinforcing that with my fingers, making sure everything is good. And then there you go. You can see that it's going to stand up. Isn't that great? And then we're going to decorate those little panels. So I would say, I mean, I've got some measurements for these, and I'll give you those, but you might want a different size border. So these smaller pieces of cardstock were 1 1/4 inches by 5 3/8 inches. You might want them to be 1 inch or less, or whatever, maybe 1 1/8 by 5 1/4 or whatever. I'm not sure. So just do as you measure how you want it to be measured. My blue cardstock measures 2 inches by 5 3/8. I'm just making it a very small border around all of these. Again, you make your pieces as big as you want. So you'll see it's a very thin yellow border around all of those. And then I'm just going to repeat that process on all 4 sides. So while this fun fold might look fairly intimidating, it's actually really easy once you know the measurements of your base, and then you can just go from there. But I had so much fun with these. I will say the more challenging part was definitely not the A4 or the A2. It was actually the A7. So trying to figure out the 5x7 measurements was a little bit more difficult. Had to play around with that a little bit more. And then, so I just had fun putting these together. And then I knew that decorating them was going to be even more fun, because you end up having 4 full sides that you can decorate. You might want to put just words in there, or leave one completely blank. So that's where you write your message to your recipient. However you want to do it, there's a lot of possibilities. You could do pattern paper on both sides, different ones, or the same. However, again, sky's the limit. So that's how that's going to look, and closed up, it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So let's move on to the 5x7 card, or the A7. This is going to measure 7 inches by 5 5/8. All right, keep that 5 5/8 at the very top. And then our scoring is the exact same. So we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. That's going to be our first score. And we'll stay going slow on this one, just so that you can write these down if you'd like to. But yeah, this is the A7. Here's your 5x7. And you can see I'm having a struggle with the Scor-Buddy. So there's our first score. Our next score will be at 1 1/4 inches, just like before. Then our next score will be at 2 inches. Again, 3/4 of an inch in between each of those, except that small flap at the beginning. And then the last one is at 2 3/4 inches. All right. So now again, we'll fold all this up so that we can get our square. And then once again, To get your square, you're just going to put glue on that first flap and basically fold that in half. You do want to have a score line that you can see. You're just basically going to fold it on the third score line. So close that up. There's your score line. And then once that dries, so there's your score line. Once that dries, you'll have a nice square in the center. All right, and again, moving on, same piece, or same concept, you're going to need 3 pieces of that same color cardstock to make your base. Those are going to measure 2.5 inches by 7 inches. So you've got obviously your long side is 7 inches, your short side is 2.5 inches, and you need 3 of them. All right, same process. We're just going to glue these little panels to each side of our square. So we'll glue to this one. Again, don't push it in too far because again, you want to make sure that everything can stay flat, that it folds into your envelope easily. So there you go. Then we'll put our second panel in there, moving on to that other side of the square. Close it up. I've just found the easiest way is making sure that you close it up. That way you can absolutely for certain know that it's going to lay flat. And then you'll put your final panel on the last part of the square. So for all of you A7 card lovers, here is all the measurements for that. So that measures a perfect 5x7 to be able to fit into an envelope very nicely. And then it can stand up just like the other one. All right, once again, you'll need some panels of pattern paper. And I decided to use that same 6x6 pattern paper. Normally 6x6 is obviously not going to fit in there perfectly. If you really just want your pattern paper to fit in there fine, then you're going to need like some 6x8 paper. But I decided I'll just make this lower portion some grass. And then I decided to not put any cardstock on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and decorate our A2 and our A7. I'm not going to show you all of the decorating because there's, 4 panels for each one. And I did color and cut out a ton of the cute little images. Now for this A2, I stamped directly onto our panels. Normally, I would probably tell you to stamp ahead of time, but I had no idea how I was going to decorate these when I just started going. And it worked out fine. But I will tell you on the A7, I stamped them on the panels, but then I decided I didn't like the way it looked, so I stamped it onto some black cardstock and then cut those out. If you want to have any of your pieces hanging off of the edge, you can do that. You just want to make sure that they don't go beyond your other edge that is sticking out. All right, and then Miles had to come and supervise again. So here are our A7 pieces. I have a lot more space to cover on the A7, that's for sure. So I've got my black sentiment cardstock by Pearblossom Press. This stuff is perfection for stamping on black cardstock because it's so super smooth. If you use an anti-static powder tool with it, that powder doesn't stick to where it's not supposed to. So I'm stamping up a bunch of the sentiments because I need those. There's 4 panels, so I'm going to use all 4 of the sentiments in there. And I stamped out the other 4 smaller ones. We're going to trim those down using our guillotine trimmer. Obviously, I heat set those because I used embossing powder. And then I'm going to just put my sentiments over what I stamped because I really like that contrast of the black. And now let me show you how these cards turned out. I'll show you each side of the panels, all 4 sides, and then we'll show you how it's going to fit inside that A2 envelope perfectly fine, perfectly flat. All right, so that's how it's going to go in there. I only had this one that you see in the front where the balloons and the bunny stick off the side. But this little card fits in that A2 size envelope perfectly fine. Look at that. Love it. And then I'll show you our little A7. This one makes my heart happy. I'm definitely going to be making more of these. Lots of places to write. This would be perfect for even an office where if you had a lot of people that needed to write a little message. Lots of area to be able to do that. And it fits in our envelope just fine also. All right, so I'd love to know what you think of these cards. Is this something you want to give a try to? If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to come back in a couple weeks for week number 5 of our Fun Fold Friday. Thanks, friends. I'll see you soon.